There we go. Okay. So a little bit about the Sierra Club. If you're here, you probably know who we are, but we're the nation's oldest and largest grassroots environmental organization. And the Central Florida Sierra Club is run completely by volunteers. We do have some staff as well that are paid that do some amazing work. But the majority of the Central Florida, the people that you see at the meetings every month and everything, we volunteer. So, and if you love what we do, we'd love your support. You can join as low as $15 for a year. But don't worry, all of our meetings and all of our outings are free to everyone. We want everyone to be able to join us, to get out, enjoy, explore, and see the beautiful things here in Florida. We're always looking for people to help out. So if you're interested in getting involved more, please, you can reach out to Frank, our membership chair. His email address is there as well. You can also reach out via our website and submit a request, and that'll come to us board members as well. So right now, the National Sierra Club has given us the green light to do outdoor events. We had a great team at the Backyard Biodiversity Day back in October. So hopefully you were able to meet up with us there. We miss you. We want to see you. We're still holding off on indoor events right now, such as our monthly meetings, but we do have something planned for December. So I'll get to that. And I do want to now pass it over to Marge. She is our conservation chair and vice chair, political chair, chair extraordinaire with a fertilizer ordinance update.
Okay, I've got just a couple other things as well. The Orange County planning and working through Orange County Environmental Protection Division, they are upgrading protections for the application of fertilizer. And this would be for residential yards and commercial applicators as well. It's a really good, strong ordinance, except there is an exception. And this would potentially allow a business or even a resident to allow them to apply nitrogen and phosphorus during the rainy season, which I can't imagine predicating your business on applying nitrogen and phosphorus, but right now that's being proposed, and the Sierra Club is working to get that struck from the amendments. So, but right now it's a pretty good update to the fertilizer management. The Build Back Better press event today, I was scheduled to be at it, but I'm kind of under the weather. And that is, as Congressman Demings knows, very important legislation. And the Sierra Club and there's been kind of a coalition of efforts. And today it was to encourage Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy to cast her vote this week at all possible. But I'm not sure how the event went, so you might want to check the news. It'll probably be on there. And so we're so excited. This is just historic legislation along with the infrastructure bill. And this is really going to guide some of our climate change strategies. And it's about a societal shift in how we deal with environmental justice and climate change as well. So I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more later here. And one of the other items I have is the Central Florida Group is a member of the Everglades Coalition. And we're a member due to the waters that we have up here. We have our headwaters that flow down to the Kissimmee Basin and the Lake Hart and Shingle Creek, and then, of course, ultimately to Lake Okeechobee and into the Florida Everglades and some of the other waters there. And one of the votes that I was especially interested in is the Everglades Coalition voted to support a resolution for strong protection in the proposed management plan for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And that is in a very pivotal area for the Everglades and a lot of the waters around there. And I can tell you the Everglades Coalition is always up to something. They're addressing the issues at the federal level with the U.S. Army Corps and restoring that flow and cleaning up the waters down there has been monumental. So that's about all I have for tonight, and we'll move on. Thank you very much.
So like I said, we had something planned for December. We traditionally have our annual potluck in December, and it's one of our biggest and best events. Love just being able to sit and talk with our members. So actually Lou Gardens has an event going on, so we couldn't even meet there if we wanted to, but we found an alternate place to meet. So Langford Park, and we'll get this all posted on our social media channels and on our website. So December 15th, same time, different place. So instead of your living room, we'd love to see you. We've missed you. And we have this great outdoor pavilion so that we can meet. So please bring a dish to share, and please bring your own reusable utensils, plates, cups. And if you have any questions, please, there's my contact information, my email address there at the bottom. And we would love to see you. It's been too long. I miss you guys. So please come and join us. And now, for the reason you're really here is not to hear me talk. We're here to welcome Congresswoman Demings. So she grew up in Jacksonville, and with the support and sacrifice of her family, she became the first to graduate college. She received a BS in criminology from FSU, and my husband would be remiss if I didn't say go Knowles. She began her career as a social worker and was inspired to join OPD, and later served as Orlando's first female chief of police. She now represents Florida's 10th congressional district, where I live, and the U.S. House of Representatives. Too many accolades and other things to mention here, so I'm just going to turn the floor over to her. Congresswoman Demings, thank you so much. We're honored to have you.
Let me officially say good evening to all of you and let you know what a joy it is for me to be here with you. I so regret that I was not able, I was scheduled in September, but because of an ever-changing schedule, was unable to meet with you, but it certainly feels good to be here tonight. Julie, I heard you say that you've been approved for outdoor events, and I think that is great news. And I look forward to the opportunity when we're able to be together in the same space, because I think we're all at our best when we have those types of opportunities. But we also know that it's been a tough about 20 months or so. You spoke earlier about the COVID restrictions and all that we've had to go through in adjusting to that. As you know, as a nation, we've lost about 780,000 individuals to COVID. And so while we are much better now than we were this time last year, we know that we still have some work to do. To Julie, to Marge, thank you so much for that great report, Marge, about the great things that you all are doing, to Ryan, and to the entire board of directors, to all of you. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing every day. I saw, Julie, in the slide, it said to keep Central Florida beautiful. And I think if we had to have a theme, I'd like working around that one, to keep Central Florida beautiful. I want to thank you for the work that you do. I kind of put it in these terms, to really protect, to promote accountability, and to educate, everybody, because I really do believe we all have a role to play in terms of keeping Central Florida beautiful. So thank you so much for those words, which I will use tonight as we begin our discussions. I'm serving my third term in the U.S. House of Representatives, and let me say I could not be more honored to serve you and to represent you. As you well know, I serve on the committees on judiciary, Homeland Security, and the Intelligence Committee. I'm also the chair of the subcommittee on emergency preparedness, response, and recovery. And so when we think about the work that you all do, and really the major role that the Sierra Club plays in leading our efforts into protecting our environment, into responding to extreme weather conditions, and we're certainly aware of that here. In terms of thinking about the millions and millions of people who travel to Central Florida from every corner of the world to enjoy our natural resources, our beaches, our streams, our rivers, our lakes, and certainly the Everglades. We have a lot of work to do, and I am delighted to be a partner for you. I joked earlier about we've been pretty busy, and I'm really proud of the work that we have been able to accomplish. I was here last Saturday morning at 1 o'clock in the morning when we were able to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We clearly understand what that, thank you, I see you there, Lee. Thank you, it's worth clapping for. I really wish that we would have gotten this, you know, when I was first elected to Congress in 2017, and I came here, you know, from being a law enforcement officer and thinking about how I could not tell you the political party of the overwhelming majority of men and women I worked with in law enforcement. We had a goal, we had a mission to accomplish, and we were laser focused on accomplishing that mission. I really thought when I was first elected and sworn in 2017, that infrastructure would have been a great bipartisan effort to be engaged in. But of course, we did not. It took us 5 months or 5 years later. But I'm so proud that we were able to pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. As you all know, it is the largest investment in our infrastructure in the history of our nation. We've talked a lot over the last week about what it will do in terms of traditional infrastructure, in terms of the investment in improving our roadways, our highways and bridges. We have about 3,500 miles of roadway and highways that are in poor condition and desperate need of repair. We have just over 400 bridges that are also in need of repair. But it will also bring expanding broadband. I think one of the things that COVID-19 did for us is we talked about pulling our children out of schools and going into distant learning. It really put a spotlight on the absence of broadband. Whether in rural areas and urban areas or in suburban areas, every household does not have access to the internet. And so, as you know, a major portion, about $65 billion of the funds in the infrastructure bill will go towards expanding broadband. But also, we are making the largest investment in protecting our environment and dealing with climate change, the largest investment in the history of our nation, you know, in the investment in alternative energy sources. And I know that clean energy is one of the major initiatives of the Sierra Club of Central Florida, investing in electric vehicles. We've seen some of the major automobile giants like GM really take the initiative to make the transition to electric vehicles, and the bipartisan bill really has made a major, bold effort in supporting those initiatives, but also monies that will protect our drinking water. It's hard to believe that there are still households in a nation that we say is the greatest country in the world, communities that do not have access to clean drinking water. There's still thousands of households that still have lead pipes. And so replacing those lead pipes, there is a 100% commitment to replacing all of the lead pipes that still exist within our nation. Of course, dealing with climate change. Of course, here we do believe in science, Therefore, we do believe in climate change, and we do believe that we play a major role in addressing it and doing something about it. And there are billions of dollars that have been designated to reverse the effects of extreme weather conditions. We've seen what is happening in Florida. Our storms and hurricanes are getting more and more severe. We've seen the wildfires that not only exist here in Florida, but out on the West Coast, and how they are getting bigger and more extreme. And so within the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we do have committed funding to addressing the extreme weather conditions. Certainly, as the chair of the subcommittee on emergency preparedness, recovery, and response, we could not be more delighted about the funding that has been designated there. With the Build Back Better, as you know, we're here in DC. We still have some work to do. We've completed phase one. We're delighted about that, but we've got to go back and pass the Build Back Better legislation. The speaker said a couple of days ago that we are not going home. She said we are not leaving DC. In other words, Thanksgiving may not come for us if we do not get the Build Back Better legislation passed. And I like to look at Build Back Better as those wraparound services that we so desperately need to really improve the quality of life for persons, families living in our country, especially those who go to work every day or those who have had to go to work every day. We believe there is something in the Build Back Better legislation that really will benefit households throughout the state of Florida, certainly households throughout Central Florida, but particularly throughout the nation. Expanding provisions in the Affordable Care Act to make sure that every household has access to quality health care. You know that Florida is one of the 12 states, only 12 states that have not made the decision to expand Medicaid. And so we're looking at expanding those provisions in the ACA that will provide that much needed coverage. Expanding the provisions in Medicare to make sure that we are covering vision and dental and hearing in Medicare, which I think will benefit so very many. Elder care, making sure that elder care is affordable, child care is affordable. We have over 2 million women who have not returned to the workforce because of the unbelievable cost of childcare. Expanding the child tax credits. We have in the provision in the Build Back Better bill where they will be covered for the next year, but we're also working to make the child tax credits permanent to really help, as I said, those families who have to go to work every day or families who have had to go to work every day. So we're really excited about the traditional infrastructure bill and what it will bring to Central Florida, but also we're excited about the Build Back Better, which we will get done in the coming days ahead. I know that there are questions, there's so much to cover. I'm going to stop right here, Julie, and allow your members to ask whatever questions they might have. But again, thank you so much. It is my honor to join you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. And honestly, the timing worked out really well this month because it was such an exciting thing that happened with this infrastructure, so we could have you come and speak to us. So it was meant to be that November was the month you joined us. So everyone, if you have a question, please put it in the chat. I think that's just going to be the easiest way to address questions. So while you guys are typing the questions, I'll sort of just start off with a quick one. You talked about sort of the infrastructure bill and all the different impacts has across the country. Sort of what do you feel is maybe the biggest achievement that we got with the infrastructure bill? You know, the one thing that was really challenging and we were able to get that passed and that's going to maybe even have the biggest impact for Florida.
Wow. Well, as I prepare to answer that question, Julie, let me pause for just a minute to just acknowledge my staff member, Peggy Gustav. who is here with us. So if there are any follow-up questions or any follow-up information that you need after our call, Peggy is available to assist in getting those answers. Thank you so much, Peggy. Julie, that is such an amazing question. I think investing in our infrastructure, you know, we here in the state of Florida have a D rating, basically, in our infrastructure. So making those investments in traditional infrastructure certainly is important. But I also am very thankful for the administration's vision that if we are going to seriously deal with climate change, then we have got to also make those investments. Clean water, investing, you know, removing lead pipes, looking at the extreme weather conditions, looking at clean energy sources and making those investments, whether it's electric vehicles, electric buses, working in terms of with public transportation to develop touchless systems. So I'm just really pleased that the administration has thought outside of the box in Congress. Our leadership has thought outside of the box and did not stop with just the traditional infrastructure. We need both if we're going to get where we need to be. You heard the president announce last week that he's making a $17 billion investment in expanding our ports. As we talk about strengthening our supply chains, we know that families, as I said, that have to go to work every day or have had to go to work every day are feeling the crunch of increased gas prices, the increased prices of goods and services, going to your grocery stores and the shelves are bare. And so we have got to make sure that we have the necessary infrastructure in place to move those goods and services, to lower the cost of gas and other products that people depend on daily. And I'm just glad to see the administration, and as I said, and the leadership in Congress, at least on our side of the aisle, really have the vision to get those things done.
Thank you. I have a question here from Erica Hall. What do you think about President Biden's Justice 40 initiative, a plan to deliver 40% of the overall benefits of climate investments to disadvantaged communities and inform equitable research, development, and deployment within the DOE?
Erica, thank you so much for that. And, you know, I love the term, you know, we've talked a lot about the word justice, right? We talk about criminal justice. We talk a lot about civil justice. I love the term environmental justice as well. I saw a special over the weekend where we were looking historically at infrastructure within our nation, how America was built. And we know that there were some injustices that were done in some of the most vulnerable communities. And so we have a lot of work to do. And again, I applaud the administration's commitment to really thinking outside of the box and righting some of those historical wrongs that have occurred in some of the most vulnerable communities. I don't think we should pick winners and losers when we talk about environmental justice. I think we can have winners around the board. And I think the president's initiative will give us just that. So Erica, thank you so much for that question.
Thank you so much for your answer. It was perfect. We do a lot of work here at the Suncoast Group. We just had Dr. Robert Bullard here at USF to talk about climate change and a lot of issues in BIPOC communities, those of us that live in those coastal areas that are mostly affected by climate change. So he encouraged us to continue to build coalitions and partnerships that work with what I call JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And me as a person of color in this environmental movement, it's very important that those resources be directed to the most vulnerable communities, especially in coastal communities like here in St. Pete. So thank you so much for all you do.
Absolutely correct. And I had an opportunity a couple of months ago to spend over in Pinellas County, and I received the most thorough briefing on red tide. And so, you know, we have a lot of work to do. And Marge, in your presentation, when you talked about the ordinance, it's really about holding polluters accountable in a more responsible way. And so I'll be back, Erica, but thank you so much for the work that you are doing as well.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Julie, I just wanted to say, I think she has time for one more question and then she'll have to take off. So thank you so much. But I will be glad to take any other questions that anyone from the board has and get those answered for you.
Okay, I think we'll go with Susan. Hi, fellow Sierrans, good to see you. We have seen the degradation of our natural springs in Florida over the last decades. What can you do to help us restore these important resources in our state? And then, of course, locally mentioning Wekiva Springs. And thank you for being with us tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. And look, the time goes quickly, doesn't it? Susan, thank you so much for that question. And look, you know, I said in my opening remarks that millions of people come from every corner of the world to experience our natural resources, our natural beauties. They come because of our beaches, our rivers, our lakes, our streams, the Everglades. And so, you know, there cannot just be a federal commitment. We have to see a commitment at the state level. We've heard the work that Marge talked about at the local level. But also, Susan, when the local or state level fails to do what we need them to do to protect our natural resources, then the federal government does have to step in, because we don't just see this problem in Central Florida. We know what's happening in South Florida. We know what's happening on the West Coast. And so the federal government does have a role to play in protecting those resources, holding violators accountable, making it a priority. You know, I like to say that for me, this is how I describe it, is like, I think that God has given us everything we need in this beautiful earth that we have, everything that we need to survive, whether it's food, whether it's water. We have everything that we need. Our individual responsibility is to take care of it and be good stewards. And so ultimately, as I said, when local and the state level does not do what they should do or are supposed to do, then the federal government has to step in and has a major role to play. And I can tell you that we are committed to that work. And let me just also say, I am so very proud of the work that Kathy Castor, Representative Kathy Castor, is doing with the Select Committee. I think the Speaker's choice of her to lead that effort, I think the dividends or the benefit of that, her leadership have already paid off. I know that she has an unwavering commitment to protecting Florida and Florida's natural resources and our environment. So I just wanted to salute Kathy Castor, my great friend and colleague, for her efforts in that area. And look, let me say this too. The time has been well spent, but it's gone really quickly. Of course, I have two more commitments tonight, but Julie, I want to say to you, please invite me back, because I would love for us to have about an hour to really have a roundtable discussion especially with the infrastructure package, especially with the Build Back Better. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your suggestions, utilize you as a resource to make sure as those funds are disseminated that we are putting them to the best use and using them in the most critical way. And so I look forward to that. I know we're not, I think I saw there's not going to be a meeting in December, but even if we had to come together in a special session, maybe after the first of the year, I would be more than happy to do that. So again, thank you all so much for your leadership. Thank you for what you do every day to keep Central Florida beautiful. It matters, and I am honored to be a part of it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman
Thank
Demings.
you very much.
Congresswoman.
Thank you. Good night. Take
Good
care.
night.
Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Peggy.
Thank you.
So there were a few questions that we couldn't get to, but I'll send some of those over to Peggy or to her to Congresswoman Demings' team, and sort of see if we can get some answers or thoughts, anything like that. I wasn't really sure on the amount of time, so I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, but so happy that you guys were able to join us this evening, and hope to see some of you in person next month at our potluck meeting. And again, if anyone has any questions or anything, or if anyone wants to chat, we still have plenty of time this evening. So you guys feel free to unmute yourselves. You don't have to go through the chat at this point, but if you were like, oh man, I need to go to sleep, it's been one of those days, I get that too. So
Yes,
thank you being here, Peggy.
Yes, thank you.
Nothing else.
Yes, I would like to ask Peggy a question if I could, please. Peggy, are you aware of the breakdown of the dollars allocated for the state of Florida?
In terms of the infrastructure bill
Well,
or the Build Back Better?
the Build Back Better. Build Back Better.
I don't think we have I don't have that information right now, but I can get that to you, Marjorie.
Okay. And if you want to give us a breakdown on the infrastructure bill, that would be great if you have it.
Well, what I'd be glad to do, here's what I will be glad to do, is facilitate getting that information, because I know we have a great fact sheet on how that information and how the infrastructure bill is going to be so beneficial for Florida, and get that information out to you post-haste. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that information is available. And I know that the White House has facilitated several fact sheets as well on how it kind of will assist various, the diversity of how it impacts various communities as well. And they're trying to do a good job on the messaging and getting that information out there. So I definitely can get that information out to you and send that to you by email so that you can go on and share that on with your members.
Okay, I can write my email here in the chat.
That'd be great, Marjorie.
Like okay. And does Congressman Demings have any of that information on her website? You know?
I don't believe she does at this time. But
Okay.
she does have a press release in regards to it. So
Okay.
I definitely encourage you to take a look at that.
Thank you, Peggy.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any other questions for Peggy or for anyone else? Oh, Mary Slater just put in the chat, infrastructure investment state fact sheet for Florida. So thanks, Mary Slater. So go ahead and check that out in the chat. As an EV driver, very happy to see about some extending the network of charging stations and just the overall infrastructure. I know that's one thing that keeps people from buying electric vehicles is the fear, the range anxiety, as it's called, of can I get to this location? Can I get to that location? And honestly, it's something, I have to consider as well. I'm driving from Orlando to sort of the Tampa area, Clearwater, and then to Miami in the next week. And so planning that all out, I have to, be wary. And as I cross Alligator Alley, am I going to be able to charge? And I know not in the middle of Alligator Alley, and I'll be fine. But, these are things that people have to think of who drive way more than me. So seeing that increase in infrastructure is something that I'm personally very excited about. So it was great to hear that mentioned this evening.
Actually, I have something else. It might be too specific, but I'll ask it for Peggy. I'm just wondering, Congressman Demings mentioned the upgrades to the potable water, the drinking systems for, some cities that still have the old lead pipes. Do you know by chance if there's any funding for wastewater processing technologies? And the reason I ask, San Diego, they're out in the West, and they rely on the surface water out there, from the rivers, and they're desperate now. It's drying up, and San Diego is looking at direct potable reuse, which means that wastewater is going directly back into the drinking water, well, being treated.
Right.
Yeah, but very, very costly. Do you know by chance if anything has been allocated for those type of technologies?
Or those types of really environmentally friendly projects. I haven't heard of dollars that have been directed to projects like that, but I'll definitely ask our legislative team that question. And so we can get some answers to you, but that's a great question. I'd be interested to know that as well.
Right.
Now, I know that federal dollars have been utilized to facilitate getting a lot of homes converted from septic onto the city sewer. And that's a progress that's, slowly but surely being done. But definitely, I see Mary Lynn put in the chat about a Senate Bill 914, Drinking and Wastewater Infrastructure Act, that would reauthorize for variety of programs of what you described. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary Slater.
We have such knowledgeable members.
Hey, I have a question. This is Susan. Sorry, I'm like here in my pajamas.
Oh, Susan, don't worry about it.
I didn't want the Congresswoman to see me in my pajamas. So I wonder if you guys would be open to the idea, way back when Congressman Grayson was running for Congress the second time, I invited all of the local environmental or the Central Florida environmentalists and all the organizations to participate in we had a luncheon in downtown Orlando in person for him and allowed him to talk to everybody, meet everybody, and answer a lot of questions. I'm wondering if we might do a similar Zoom where the organizations could get together and all have Val come and answer questions so that we have a larger group of people she's speaking to. And I know a lot of people who are passionate about the same issues, who maybe belong to Orange Audubon or Florida Native Plant Society. I don't know, just an idea.
Absolutely, Susan. Whenever you work out the logistics of that, please do send an invitation to our office. And that's something, depending on what her schedule looks like next year, it's gonna be mighty busy, but we definitely welcome the invitation.
Well, I wonder if how the club feels about that.
Oh, the Sierra Club?
Yeah.
Oh, I can say I think that's great. Actually, Congressman Stephanie Murphy, I sat at her environmental roundtable, and she asked various organizations to attend that as well.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I just think that would be good to have various stakeholders, environmental stakeholders.
Yeah.
I think it would be great.
Okay.
And we can try and make arrangements here to get that time and that list. Be glad to help.
Okay, good.
That's great. Well, do we
Knowledge is power.
It
Knowledge is
is.
power, they say.
So thank you so much for taking the time to share that with me. I'm going to jump off, but again, if you have any questions, Julie has our emails, and Marjorie, I will get any additional information out to you, but thank you all.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you for your
so
time.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was pretty cool. I have to admit, not every day you get to speak to one of your elected officials. You get to hear straight from them about what they're working on and how it actually directly impacts you in your day-to-day life. So that was a fun experience, and we will definitely reach out and try to bring Congresswoman Demings back next year, some sort of meeting. Again, the benefit, we were talking before the meeting started with her, and she's saying today she's been in California, Illinois, New York, and now Florida. So the benefit of having these Zoom meetings, as much as I hate staring at the screen these days, but the benefit is we're able to bring someone who wouldn't be able to join us normally because of her crazy schedule or the important work that she does, and we can bring her to us. So we will definitely reach out and try to schedule something for next year, because there's a lot of great work that she's doing, and super cool that she can join us. So
Could you put Peggy Gustav's email address into the chat, please, Julie?
What I'll do is, so that she's not getting a billion emails, I'll go ahead and put my email address in there in the chat, and then you guys can just reach out to me and I'll compile all the questions into one email.
Leah, her website, typically the Congress people in the House and Senate, they have an address. It may go through, not as close a channel through Julie, but there is contact information.
Yep. So, but I just put my email in there, and I know there were a few questions in the chat that didn't get answered. So I'm going to be sending those as well, and we'll be posting the answers. I don't know, maybe on our social media, a link probably on our website is probably the easiest, or if you come and join us in our December meeting, we can address the answers if we've received them by then in person. So.
I'd like to add something. The Build Back Better Act is so historic. It has a global effect as well. It sends a message that the United States is serious about addressing climate change and making that investment as well. So, along with what we benefit here locally and nationally, it has such a global effect. And it's going to send the members, of the Climate Change Summit, a message that we're willing to make that investment.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And on infrastructure, I think this, I'm not the first person to say this, but infrastructure is not sexy. Nobody, gets the job, gets into office, and it's like, ooh, I'm going to work on infrastructure. That's not what normally gets the votes, but it is such an important part of our everyday life. It's one of the few things that actually impacts our safety, our ability to move around, goods and services, progress. I mean, everything. So I think this is a momentous occasion. And like I said earlier, she couldn't make it in September, but I think this sort of worked out to have her in November to talk about something as momentous as the infrastructure bill. So the world works in mysterious ways, I guess.
Yes. I'm kind of curious to see if there's going to be any environmental impact statements, like, expanding the ports. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So, that's marine and probably dredging and things like that. So I'd be wondering just to see if there's going to be some assessments, and those may come up as these projects come online. So
yeah.
Just curious about that.
A lot of things that'll be coming up, and thankfully with a sort of Congressman Demings being so, available to us, that, we'll be able to get an update in the coming months. I think maybe June, good like 6 months out, 7 months out, see if we can get her again. So, well, I just want to thank
Yeah.
everyone so much for joining us this evening. Such a great experience. Thank you for your questions. We'll try to get our answers, and feel free to send me an email and I'll compile any additional questions that you may have. And just thank you for your hard work and dedication. And for those of you local, we'd love to see you in December. So with that, I will say good night and thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.
Well, thank you for arranging this, and thanks for the invitation. It was great.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. See you, Steve. See you
Good night,
later.
all. Yes,
Good
Good
night.
before
night.
long.
And thank you, everybody. And Jeff, yes. Good night.
Well, I'm going to end the meeting. So good night.
Good night.